Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of River City 93, where we're not only celebrating a USL League Championship, we're also celebrating the number one seed. So, for the first time in a long time, since 2001, 2006, 2007, 2013, we can now add 2022, for the fifth time in club history, the Richmond Kickers have won the regular season championship. Guys, how sweet it is. How sweet it is.
I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, right?
I am. I am 100% so. Look, this is my first league title as a Kickers fan since I started following the club. So I am 100% giddy and all excited for it.
Yeah, I can say that the same for me too. I literally started going to Kickers games, found out about the Richmond Kickers literally the year after they won the league title, the league championship. So I missed it by a year, and then now this is my first. So it feels great. It feels fantastic. You know,
It was great.
People always say you remember your first, right?
Yeah,
yep.
Good. As you should.
Was it special for you boys?
It was.
Oh yeah.
It was great seeing the team not only celebrating with the foam roller. That was kind of cool to see. We got to get these guys a real trophy. It's cool, but we got to get them a real actual trophy so they can hold it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Not only that, I'll say I'm disappointed in the boys for one thing only. They're celebrating more on the midfield side instead of just going right up into in front of the Madison fans in front of goal over there where they were and just basking in it right in front of them.
It would have been dope. It would have been.
Yeah. You want to have a real rival. You want to have a real rivalry. You lean in.
Exactly. This is a derby, okay? This is a rivalry. Rub it in. Rub it in. I say rub it in. Y'all didn't make the playoffs. We won the league. And what?
Look, as Madison fans try to tell me over and over again, well, we got the Henry Darby Trophy. We had it in 2019. It doesn't solve any problems. You still missed the playoffs. You haven't been there in 3 years. We've been on the up and up. And now we're the regular season champs.
Do they even know what a foam roller is? I mean, really?
I don't think so. I wonder who foam roller it is, though. I do wonder that.
I mean, it's the trophy cabinet now.
Well, all right. I wonder if that does become the official trophy. Like, it's just here's a foam roller. Here's their official trophy. We'll just share it around. That would totally be hilarious. But guys, let's go ahead. Let's kind of talk about, before we talk about this game, let's talk about like this moment in itself, because I think we need to really backtrack ourselves and think of like where we thought about where this team was, what were the expectations, and think about how this team has not only progressed over the course of the season, but like some of the trials and tribulations they went through. Some of the early talks about coming into this year was this team is the third best team in USL League One. This team can finish anywhere between 3 and 7th. The early expectations were to have at least a home playoff game, whether that's in the quarterfinals or the semifinals. How is this team going to look if, Chizanyi isn't the top scorer? Who's going to be the other top scorer on this team? And I think we've answered a lot of those questions over the course of this year and see how this team plays. I want you guys to kind of answer this question for me. Put yourselves in Darren Sawatsky's shoes and think about 3 years ago. You're coming into this Richmond Kickers team. Do you think he's on he's on pace for everything he's done to get this team to this point?
I don't see you can say no to that, right? Like literally just won the regular season championship. He was talking from day one about it being a 3-year process. This is year 3. He's on top with a game to spare. Like, I mean, how can that answer, be anything, but yes, he's absolutely on pace, and he's, presumably, achieved what he has set out to achieve thus far, with one more, accomplishment to go in the pipeline.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a big accomplishment. Is that it's just man. I'm trying to figure out how to express it properly, but like when you just sit back and you think about it, where this team, like it seemed like this team was always getting stopped at a certain step. Like year one under Darren, you're what, 2 games removed from the championship game because of the COVID short of year. Then last year, we squeak into the playoffs, get knocked out in the first round, and now you kind of take this huge step to becoming regular season champs. You know, it it shows you that Darren really has been working on the plan, and a lot of it took these guys buying into the system and buying into what Darren was telling them.
Yeah, I feel that it's right on schedule. When Darren first took the team, you could see what direction he was going in, and it's been literally every year has been a gradual step towards this, and you could see it building in terms of the players that he was acquiring, in terms of um, the style of play that we were slowly starting to develop. It's just been great to see that he you know he followed through with his promise. It's a 3-year project. 3 years later, we're top of the league, and it's not just that we're top of the league. It's also we are playing exciting soccer. We are playing soccer that we want to sit and watch. I like most of the games this season. I was completely into it the whole 90 minutes. We've had seasons before where it's been, a slow grind and you're sitting there like, "Oh my goodness, is this game over yet?" But every game has been exciting, has I mean, I'm not going to and like really say every game because I'm not quite sure if it's every game, but practically every game, almost every game has been exciting, has been attacking, has been free flowing, and it's the type of soccer that he promised us, and here it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the irony is the game we're getting ready to talk about was absolutely none of those things. I was desperate for it to end as soon as
Yeah,
last night, but yes, the
Yeah, no,
overall point stands.
no. Look, exactly. It's kind of like a game where you felt like, all right, if long as we're doing our job, it's kind of like we talked about last week. As long as Richmond avoid the big mistake, which they don't want to do a good job of, as bad as they're going to threaten you enough, and it didn't really feel like that. So I know there were a couple of questions talking about. Let's talk about the starting lineup first and foremost. No Miliana Terzaghi missed his game because of yellow card accumulation. I didn't know that at first. I just assumed at first that Darren was giving him a break, but it was yellow card accumulation while Terzaghi was out. So you had a front three of Gordon, Bentley, and Blanche, and the midfield trio saved has been for the better part of this year. The trio that we believe in, Neil, Zaka, Ethan. And then we had a back four, still no Stu Ritchie. You have Fitch getting his second consecutive start. Um, Dakota, Jalen, and Stephen Payne. Of course, Akira's in the background, is in the back. And then the bench also. A couple of faces we haven't seen in a while, such as Chris Cole, Matt Bolduc, David Olson, Luke Pavone. Um, so kind of, I wouldn't say a rotated squad, but a squad that has a good mix of regular starters and guys that are fringe bench first team players, I would say. What were you guys' thoughts when you first saw the lineup?
Uh,
yeah. I saw. I was a little concerned about the whole Terzaghi thing too. Where I hadn't heard anything, and I wasn't aware that he had the yellow card accumulation, and with that, I was like, "What is going on? Where's Terzaghi?" Like, okay, at least Bolaños is there, but where's Terzaghi? But when finding out about the yellow card accumulation, I think he basically started with the trusted lineup as he could, because as we said, Stu not in the lineup, not on the roster for this game either, probably still recovering. It basically was like, okay, he just plugged and played. Terzaghi can't play, plug somebody else in. Everything else remains the same. But as the game continued, you saw he was giving players that probably, I mean, we don't know because we're not there day in and day out during training, but probably in training who have stepped up and really shown their I don't know, maybe have shown what they can do. And he said, all right, I'm gonna give you an opportunity in this game. I really think pretty much every sub that came in did their job fairly well. And I think this lets us know that we have players that can maybe put in a shift throughout the playoffs, because I know these playoffs is not going to be easy.
Yeah, I mean, that Emmy yellow card suspension was coming at some point. I mean, I can't believe it didn't happen already. If we're being real here, because guy gets cards just like he gets goals a lot of the times. Thankfully, not in bunches, but it made sense to me that Bentley moved inside. To start the game from there. I think he's probably more of a natural center forward than he is a winger anyway. But you get on the field, he's been playing out wide this year. What I think it showed is that the squad depth is getting tested, right now, because think back to even 3 or so weeks ago. All right, you'd have a Bolaños and EVD starting, on the wings, and then you still have Gordon to be able to come in. You'd have Bentley to be able to come in right there. That's like obscene quality depth at a couple positions for League One, and now the depth has moved to Pavone and Bolduc right there. Still guys who I think can be able to do a job, but maybe are going to bring the same exact things that the original top 4 wingers were going to bring. I'm not upset about Emmy missing this one of any game, just because that turf, grabbed a couple of our guys during the game. So let's keep Emmy under bubble wrap for now. Bigger things, more important things, and we got the win anyway. We didn't even need him, to be able to do it up there. But I want him back.
Yeah, we'd love to have him back. Hopefully healthy. Hopefully, like you said, the turf definitely did grab a couple of our guys. So hopefully that Gordon, who scored a goal in this game, and Bolaños are healthy, ready to go. We might not see him against Greenville, give him a little bit of rest, but hopefully he'll be ready to go for our semifinal game. I know there's been a lot of talk about the Henry Derby. It hasn't been hyped up as much because they already kind of had the trophy already, but there was still a lot for us to play for. It was still a good game. Still an important matchup,
Yeah, I mean, can we be honest? We don't have to say it was a good game.
No, it was a good game in terms of we kept the clean sheet.
Yes,
there were good moments. Let's just say that
had a couple, good moments. One of the good moments I was saying, a moment that kind of almost looked like how the goal was scored was, I think it was in the first 20 minutes. Actually, it almost looked like the first goal where Ethan Bryan kind of got the ball in the midfield on the left side. He kind of broke through, but he played the ball to Bolaños. It was like the first 20 seconds. But if you look at how that chance happened, and you look at how the goal was scored, it's very similar. It seemed like another game again in which Ethan Bryan was just picking and choosing how to dictate the game in which he wanted.
Yeah, no, Ethan Bryan had a stellar performance. I would also say that Zaka had a very solid performance as a 6. And it's funny because basically you could see that all 3 of those midfielders have really taken on their central midfield position. Like Vignal is our quintessential 10. Bryant is our quintessential 8, and Zaka was solid as a 6. that midfield three basically did their jobs almost perfectly yesterday. Zaka really made things fairly easy for our center backs for Chrysler and Dakota. And I don't know. I just feel that we're starting to see a little bit more physicality with Ethan Bryant. I mean, we'll talk about the goal in a little bit, but apart for all on top of his play in his role in the goal, he really is providing that control that an 8 is supposed to provide in the midfield. And for someone so young, he is really, really doing a fantastic job of controlling the midfield.
Well, I mean, since you already brought it up, let's go ahead. Let's talk about the goal. 35th minute, Wayne Gordon scores a nice goal that puts us 5 points on top of the table. So, Janelle, I'll let you go ahead and break it down, sir.
Yeah, so I think it's a throw-in for forward Madison over on the left side, not too far from midfield, but in their half. And I'm not sure who receives the ball, but he receives the ball and is slow to get it completely under control. And Ethan Bryant just muscles his way in and just takes the ball off of him, plows forward, and pulls a Zidane-esque like roulette around another defender. And then most of the times you get a player, all right, feeling themselves, I just stole the ball, I just turned somebody, let me go for it. No, he looks up and he literally switches the play almost all the way across the field to Gordon. And now Gordon also a fantastic first touch. That first touch completely took that defender marking him completely out of the game. Just completely cuts right past him. And now he has the time to settle himself for the shot. Center back comes and steps in and actually helps him out. The deflection sends the goalie the wrong way, and in it goes. And what a way to celebrate your birthday, by the way. Putting the ball in the back of the net to win us the league. I mean, happy birthday to Wayne Gordon.
I mean, not gonna lie, man. He's been a nice upgrade on Oleg since he's came in.
Absolutely.
It's been a nice grade. Matt, what are your thoughts, man? First half, how do you think the Kickers kind of handled themselves within the moment? Did it seem as if the moment was getting to them, or do you think they kind of were in cruise control for certain parts?
No, I think the game was pretty well controlled. Really throughout the whole game, not just the first half, the entire game. There was only one like scary moment. I thought that was probably like 20, 25 minutes in. We had a corner, gets cleared out, and Madison kind of gets like a 2-on-2 break, and just split.
Is this the one where Payne gets like knocked out of the air? He was trying to head it.
Yeah,
then, like a breakaway.
Yeah, and then Dakota just got turned, on a pretty vertical run, and then thankfully Strang is just a big goofy oaf and completely put the ball wide. Clear one-on-one with Akira. Good job, dude.
I think that was another example of the bad turf because I actually saw his foot like buckled under his
I'm
plant.
not giving him no excuses. You gotta make that. Like
you do have to make that in that situation. I don't know why he's trying to go for like a sliding shot. Like he didn't try to go for a sliding shot, but the way he positioned his body, he was doing a little too much. And because he did too much, his foot got caught in the turf, and his left ankle just buckled under him. And
you know what that's called? That's called letting the moment get to you.
Yep.
And you choked.
In that situation,
I'd give him the benefit of the doubt if
anyone was going to
bluff a couple others.
Yeah. He choked. The boy choked.
Yeah. But I mean, what it comes down to is you look at the stats. I mean, this is a game of efficiency, right? And this has been a story for the Kickers all year long. Like, if you look at all the chances created stats, league wide and everything, you don't see the Kickers up at the top of those. You know where you see them at the top though? Goals scored. Look at the defensive stats. You see Akira just way the hell up there on saves. We've talked about this a million times. Right? He's far outpacing anybody else in saves. You don't see the Kickers at the bottom of the list of goals against. You see them, second from the top. at that. So it's about being able to not just creating chances, but being able to be get quality chances and have them be efficient in your finishing. And the guys that we have, yeah, they're not getting 15 chances a game, but you give them 2, they're finishing 1.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like they're finishing the chances that are given to them, and I mean they're taking advantage of those opportunities that are presented to them.
Yeah. But I mean, to my point though, legitimately, what thinking about that game, other than that one chance String had, did you think Madison was going to score at any other point?
No, it kind of felt like
really.
after it kind of felt like after that chance went awry, like it just felt like all the air out of Madison just kind of just went out the building. And I know I'm saying this as somebody who went back and rewatched the game and already knew the result, but when that chance came up, you can just see it. Like, I mean, he's going in toward their supporter section, like it's one-on-one with Akira, and he just missed it. And you could just tell it was just like, here we go again. It just had that kind of feeling of it.
Yeah, and I think I'm not really surprised with that throughout the season when you look at 2 things. First of all, their record and where they stand on the table and the way they play. But just I'm sorry, just their record and where they stand on the table, but the way they play, it kind of reminds me of Sheffield United when the year they got promoted to the Premier League most recently. You had the quick passing and they're moving the ball around fairly quickly with not really any penetration. You saw things that looked scary. It was like, oh my goodness, they're moving that ball like we're 2-3 steps behind them, but in all reality, they're not going anywhere with it. And I could see that throughout the season, like whenever I would catch a little bit of any Forward Madison game throughout the season, it's basically the same thing. They're playing quickly, but they're not penetrating the line. They're not coming at the defense. They're not really using those quick passes to cut through the defense and get themselves chances on goal. And I think with that breakaway, that was something different for them, and they should have capitalized on it. When they didn't, like they didn't have any other ideas other than do the same thing they always do. And with how organized our defense has been, all of that wasn't going to phase us. All of that quick passing was not going to phase us.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It just seemed as if like Richard was just waiting their turn and kind of let Madison get in her own way. First half finished up. Second half, guys, any thoughts on how the second half go? For me, somebody that went back and kind of rewatched it, it just seemed as if Richard was kind of more or less in control of this game. It didn't, like you said, man. You keep alluding to it. It didn't feel threatening. It didn't feel as if like how we've seen in some road games and some other performances, like we were under the gun. It didn't feel like that. It kind of felt as if like Richmond kind of more or less controls the moment. I know there was like this little 2-3 minute stretch where Cassini comes on and there's speculation whether or not this was his last performance for them. Yeah, it just didn't do anything. What was your guys' thoughts on the second half?
I mean, for me, the notable things with the second half, well, one, Madison still didn't put a shot on goal in the second half either. So Akira literally got a 0-save shutout. Awesome. That's literally perfect.
Yeah.
But the other piece was Gordon coming off at halftime, for Olsen. He went down in the first half. So looked like he was moving around okay, but why take that risk, right?
Yeah,
and then 2 minutes into the half, Bolaños going down at the end line as well, getting subbed off for Pavone, right away too. So hopefully both of those were just precautionary of, hey, let's not screw around on, crappy turf with, key guys. Right now, let's, throw some other guys out there who can, hustle, who can defend. We're already up 1. Just lock it in, from there. And so that's the noteworthy piece, for me out of that half. I mean, yeah, we could talk a lot about just the overall, defensive performance. I think, all of the, back seven field players, I think we could be able to highlight for various reasons on what they were able to bring, to the table, during the course of the game. But yeah, that, it was just more of a watching the clock, watching it move a little slower than I would have liked.
Well, talk about that back seven. There's one player I definitely want to highlight again. Simon Finch, guys, he's been really, really good at that left back spot. He's been doing a really good job for Stu, filling it in there. Just throwing this out there. Not saying it's going to happen. And we hope Stu the best in his recovery. If Stu cannot return for the playoffs, how confident are you in Finch in the playoffs?
I'm okay with it. I mean, he these past few games he has been solid. He has been consistently solid in that position. A very strong deputy for Stu. If Stu cannot make the playoffs, I don't even think that's anywhere even close to even a half a step down from Stu. It's practically almost on par with what Stu has been giving us. It's a little bit of a different style, but I'm okay with Fitch back there with the other guys.
Yeah, I think Simon gives you maybe a little bit more of a true defender, in the back. Maybe you lose a little bit, going forward because Stu has really been able to combine well with Bolaños all year, along the left side in the attack. So maybe it's a step down there, but maybe you get that half step back on the defensive side of the ball. So it comes down to preference. I think all things being equal, the team probably flows a little bit better moving forward with Stu in there, but I'm not going to be worried about it if Simon's playing.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with John as well. I think he's done well. I think Darren trusts him, and it seems good that he's in here. He's doing what he's being asked to do. He's contributing. He's playing really well. Yeah, really solid. I think some other things we can take away from this game was one, Richmond with this win, 5 points clear. We have clinched the number one seed. That's done. Regular season champs, that's done. But I think the sweetest thing to take away from this game is we not only clinched that, but we clinched it on Madison's field on their fan appreciation night.
Oh, yeah, that's rubbing salt in the wound. I love it. I love it.
But it's okay. Didn't you see the tweets? Oh, well, they have the crappy little trophy that hot glue gun together. That's the real win.
that's the one they're trying to say, but we're not gonna let them get away. We're not gonna let them spread propaganda and make the Hitting Arbor Trophy more important than the regular season trophy.
Yeah, that's like us the last couple of years. You're trying to say, oh, the healthcare cup against Greenville. Well, we won it, so that was really we're the real winners here. Meanwhile, they're running it through playoffs and everything each year.
No, absolutely not. If we couldn't even do that. If you guys didn't see it, is on our social medias. But Darren Sawatsky talked to Talking Flock. He also talked to Jalen Chris, and they were just talking about what this win does for them, how this is something that they've been working towards. They'll enjoy the moment, but they won't be spoiled by it. Darren didn't allude to rest per se, but let's kind of shift our attention now to the Greenville matchup coming up. What are you guys expecting? What are some key things that we want to see in this matchup, or possible players playing? Matt, like last week, you talked about for this game, you wanted to see the team get a clean sheet within the last 2 games. We saw that now. Last game at home, what are some things that you guys want to see out of this matchup here?
I think there is a possibility that Greenville will come hard because Greenville know they can't take top, but they want to hang on to that second spot because that second spot is also home games for the playoffs. So and Chattanooga are breathing down their neck, Union Omaha are breathing down their neck. they want to get a result out of this game, and a tie won't cut it. You know, if they get a tie against us and Chattanooga win, they're tied on points, but Chattanooga has more wins and a bigger goal differential. So either way, the tiebreaker would go to Chattanooga. So I think they're going to try and get a result out of this game as much as they can to leave fate in their hands. So with this also being the last regular season game, you also want momentum going into the playoffs. You rarely see a team lose their last regular season game and do well in the playoffs because the momentum is killed right before you go into the playoffs. So we want to keep that momentum. If we're able to get a win, that's a good sign going into the playoffs. But we don't want to be risking, wearing our key players out or them getting injured. So I would say start with a strong lineup, but make early substitutions. Make early switches and take some of the key players off when you see how the game is going, and basically we don't have to win, but a win would be better for us going into the playoffs.
Somewhat agree, but at certain points disagree. So Saturday night, coronation night, as I've decided I want to start calling it. I think key thing is keeping guys sharp and keeping guys healthy, right? So I want to see Emmy out there because he doesn't need to have basically like a month off between competitive games. I have no interest in seeing Gordon or Bolaños on Saturday. Let them heal up, let them get right.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so maybe we're starting. Maybe Luke gets a start. Cool.
Luke scores a goal. Great.
Yeah.
Yo, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
He's got one coming. He's been having one coming for a while.
Yeah. If anybody else has a little something going on, maybe we don't need to risk that. You can rotate somebody and maybe you give Ani a start and give Jalen or Dakota a little bit of a rest, or you do a 45-45 with one of them. Just again, get guys some minutes. Keep guys sharp. I mean, I wouldn't mind if this is one where we give Akira the night off, let Will get a full 90 in goal, get that added experience. I mean, realistically, the game's meaningless.
To
us, and we'll run out. What's the worst that happens? There, but structure the bench in a way where you can be able to manage minutes. Maybe get a couple guys who haven't played as much, some minutes as well. But get out of there without any injuries. That way you can have that week to be able to rest, recover, and then be ready to go come the 29th against whoever's coming to town.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I agree with you. I think start Terzaghi, give Gordon, Bentley, and Bolaños. Maybe Bentley get like 45 minutes, take him off at half or sub him off in the second half. But Bolaños and Gordon, let them rest. The midfield, let Zaka get some rest. Let Neil, let Evie get some rest. The back four, I say let Fitch get a full game just in case if Stu's not ready to go. Let him get another game on his belt. I wouldn't mind seeing Chris Cole. Wouldn't mind seeing Ani. They want to throw the 18-year-old out there. Do it.
maybe he's like a last 10-minute sub.
Yeah.
Or something.
But you're onto something. I will like to see what Will does if he does get the full 90. I think that would be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah.
That situation. Given, it's really going to show how he does, given we know Greenville is going to be looking to fire where they go because they need this win if they want to stay in second place.
And I think this comes down to structuring the minutes so that way we're not necessarily getting in a position where it's like we're punting and only playing a second team out there. You can be able to plan it out, because like I think a guy like Ethan, he can go, probably go full 90. His legs are young enough. He can be able to handle it. He's not as brittle as some of these other guys are at times. So and there is that rest week in between.
Yes, that is true, and that's a very good thing because when you're the number 1 seed, you get a rest week and you don't have to travel. That's the beautiful thing. So the way how the USL League One playoffs are looking right now, we know a lot of supporters have been having questions about it, so we're going to go through that right now. So officially, North Carolina FC eliminated, FC Tucson eliminated, Fort Madison eliminated. That's beautiful. Central Valley Fuego eliminated. Richmond is in the playoffs. Greenville's in the playoffs. Chattanooga's in the playoffs. Union Omaha's in the playoffs. So literally, NOCO, Northern Colorado, South Georgia Tormenta, and Charlotte Independence have not clinched a playoff seat yet. The crazy thing is, Greenville, Chattanooga, Union Omaha, or Tormenta can go as high as second. Tormenta can finish out of the playoffs, and either Greenville, Chattanooga, or Union Omaha could go either 2, 3, or 4. That's how this can go. NOCO has the week off. They're done. They already played their 30th game. They can't improve on their seeding at all. But, guys, as we go into this final weekend, who are you guys thinking might be that second team kind of to join us with the bye? And who do you think might be a potential team we can see joining us City Stadium for the semifinal?
I personally think it's Chattanooga are looking good. Union Omaha haven't. If you look at their form, you look at the form of both of these teams. You're looking at a Chattanooga team that has 3 wins in their last 5, a draw and a loss. Union Omaha had 3 draws and 2 losses. Union Omaha they are on a downward spiral than they have been for a while now. And looking at the way things were early on when they had like 5 games in hand on everybody else and they were like in third, we were like, oh boy, well, it looks like Union Omaha is just going to steamroll through those 5 games in hand that they have and top the league. And they completely squandered that. I don't see them moving up. Chattanooga smells blood with Greenville, and they will be playing against a South Georgia Tormenta team that will be looking over their shoulder because Charlotte Independence are playing North Carolina. And if Charlotte Independence get a win, they are clinching a playoff spot because they will they'll jump over North Colorado. So I don't know. I do feel that if there's anybody who's going to grab that second spot, it's going to be Chattanooga. And if we can manage to hold Greenville off, Chattanooga's grabbing that spot.
I'm not gonna lie, I low-key wanted to be. I want Greenville to be second, just so Chattanooga and Tormenta can knock each other out. Selfishly, Matt, what you think, bud?
I think there's a really good chance Greenville's still going to stay in second place. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a draw. And then Chattanooga's got a tough game against Tormenta, where both teams are really motivated. So I mean, that could go in any direction there because I believe that game's at home, so it's not a guarantee for Tormenta because they don't win home games. But it's not going to be like a walkover or anything. Omaha, they just draw every game now, or they just outright lose. They can't. They go down to 10. They go up against 10 or even 9 men and still find a way to blow a lead constantly. It's amazing. They need to start working on their penalties because it seems inevitable they're going to go to penalties in the playoffs at this point. So yeah, I mean, it's very easy to see a scenario where Greenville finishes second, even with a loss.
Yeah, like the crazy thing is, Tormenta can win against Chattanooga and go all the way from 6th to 2nd.
Yeah. So,
that's the crazy thing about all of this. Guys, it's been a magical season. You go back and you think about it, not over the course of this year, but like over the course of 3 years, and just kind of like the ups and downs that we see to see how this team grow. I think it's safe to say Bologna's more or less has the golden the assist leader locked up. Bologna's, I think, unless Grant McLaughlin gets a hat trick, I think he has the golden boot locked up. So that'll be another MVP trophy. Darren winning Coach of the Year. Do we think that is his, or do we think that might go somewhere else?
I personally think it should. I mean, you win the league, and you have to take into consideration that throughout the season, it's been a consistent level of performance. The kickers have been, and that's what's gotten them to the top. We have been extremely consistent all season. There hasn't really been a massive drop off at all. Like almost every single team has had a period where they dropped off massively. We haven't. It's been a consistent performance. Our form has basically almost been roughly around the same. We've had moments where we would just go on winning streaks, but it's just been a consistent performance. So I don't see any other coach having that level of consistency and that level of control over how they're performing.
yeah, I just don't see who else it would be at this point. Like, what has Harks done this year that Swatsky hasn't? Yeah. Right? You are not giving a coach award to Chattanooga this year.
No.
Period.
Obviously not.
The only one I can make a small case for is possibly Charlotte if they get in, but that's still hard to do.
Maybe Zayed out in Northern Colorado, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, no. I would say Tormenta's coach. Just given where that team had looked in the previous years, because this is their first ever playoff appearance, and if they clinch it and finish second, and that's the only way.
If they lose this weekend,
you
can't give it to them then. No. And if you're even having that discussion, I don't see how it can.
Yeah,
I don't think. I mean, I understand what you're saying with regards to Charlotte, but you can't.
It's just more so for Charlotte because none of us expected them. None of us expected them to still be in the race.
That's true.
Everyone picked them to be dead last, and the fact that
that's true. But I don't think there's a way you can give a coach of the year when you went through a 4-game losing streak where you gave up like over 15 balls in 4 games.
Yeah, no, that's another thing too. Like that's what I'm saying. It's very hard because any other coach you could try to make that case for. You're like, well, you had this to happen, And like you said, Sawashi's been the most consistent through it and throughout. It seems like for all the talent the team has, and I don't want to jump the gun or anything, so I'll try to tailor this question. But actually, guys, it's like, do we kind of feel like this is the end of the cycle and winning this regular season title, and possibly a USL League One playoff title will be the cherry on top for this team and show like the progression and growth of this team over the course of 3 years?
Do I think winning the championship will be the cherry on top? Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, like again, how is that not the easiest answer ever, right? And what could possibly be the rationale for that answer to be no?
No, that's why I had to ask.
Well, I think. I mean, you do have the situation of that anything can happen in the playoffs. The playoffs are it's not about your form. It's not about how good you've been throughout the season. It's how you are on the day. But still, I mean that would just be so sweet, especially with everything that we have been through over the past few years.
Well, I mean, like also, Matt, it alludes to the conversation that me and you were having last week about just like where do we rank this team in terms of Richmond Kickers history? Like the 95 team, I think we've all said is like the number 1 team. right? Because they won the regular season title and the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah.
This team, this team right now has a regular season title to his name. They're gonna have multiple players in the USL League One team of the season. They're gonna have the assist maker. They're gonna have the Golden Boot winner, the MVP, the Coach of the Year.
Well,
But
you have to take the 2013 squad into consideration as well, because that is a squad that holds the record of the longest unbeaten streak in U.S. history. Not even USL or
Well,
in
to
U.S.
start the
soccer history.
season.
yeah,
Huh?
Longest streak to start the season.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
they only
just
took
think,
one loss all year.
yeah.
yeah.
And see, that's
But
what I'm saying. Like, maybe that team is probably ranked. I never saw that team in person, but like I believe that team is probably the second greatest kicker team of all time.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean,
If
I
this
would have to see.
uh,
I think this team would have to give us another season of good performance. I'm not saying they need to win it 2 years in a row, but if we're a strong and absolutely sure playoff team next season as well, and a good consistent level of performance the same way Darren did this season, then I think you can make an argument that okay, this team is not just a team, it's a dynasty.
I don't think you're getting 2 years of this team. I
Yeah.
just
This is a happy podcast. We'll deal with
I know,
all
but
this
I'm
some
being
other
happy
time.
the fact of like guys are coming here and they're leaving because they've won the title, they won the USL playoff, and they're going on to bigger and better things.
I mean, that's not necessarily a sad thing, because we know, and we've
Yeah,
said it
that's
before on this podcast, Sawatsky's
That's all I want.
Rolodex is deep.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Deep.
But one of the things you were talking about there, Elliot. So I think it's obvious Bolaños and Terzaghi are on there. Who else is going to actually make the first team all league though?
I think Neil got a good case for it. I think Neil even has a
Neil
good
has a good
case.
case.
I think Jalen has a good case as well. I don't know, because Jalen does also have 3 own goals to his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He has 3 own goals.
But another thing
Stephen,
is that
I think
the strange
Stephen.
thing, yeah, the strange thing is with this team is that a lot of the players that we're looking at right now,
Yeah,
that are basically doing fantastic, have grown into this position. When you look at players like Terzaghi and Bolaños, they hit the ground running from day one.
I
But
don't think you said it was Bolaños.
when
Bolaños
you
grew
look,
into this role.
yeah.
Bolaños did grow into this role, but I think that growth started last year.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But when you look at someone like Ethan, you look at someone like Payne, they've kind of grown into the great player that they are for the Kickers now throughout the season, as opposed to being a mainstay of, oh my goodness, this guy changes the team the same way Terzaghi and Bolaños have.
I feel like Payne's kind of been on since day one.
Yeah, Payne's been there since. I would say this, like I get what
I
you're
think
trying to
Payne,
say.
what hurts him is his injury, like just the amount of games he's missed. That could be what hurts him.
No, because Payne has only missed.
He's missed a couple games around that dumbass red card that he had.
Yeah, those 2. That was it. Outside of that, he hasn't missed it.
No, he had a period where he was injured. Where he was, I think he missed 2 or 3 games injured.
I think you're thinking about the red card around the Central Valley Fuego game, the NoCo game. Yeah, he wasn't hurt. Stu, on the other hand, missed a couple of games because of like form, injury, and whatnot.
Yeah, and
That's what
getting back into rhythm.
Yeah.
And you have to take also into consideration someone like Dakota, who basically has grown as a backup number 6 and then became a center back and flourished there like halfway through the season. So
yeah, and you remember he got the number 6 role because Ethan was coming back from injury because he got a knock in the preseason game. So he had to play
yes,
midfield. That's how Ani started. And the natural thing was Dakota was supposed to go to center back, but Ani was playing so well that Dakota never got to center back. And then the Central
Ani got
Valley
injured.
Fuego game, Ani got the red card, and ever since then it's just been Dakota and Christ. And if you really look at it, that Central Valley Fuego game was kind of more or less the change the point of our whole season.
Yes.
It seemed
That's
the point
where a lot of changes kind of and I think it was for the better and in the moment it was like, oh, we've got to chop and change. We've got to, put Barnes in because we had gotten used to Ani and Jalen being our mainstays in the back. And Barnathan coming in and we're like, oh, okay, now this is going to be a new partnership, and it's like he hit the ground running, and now and we were actually, I remember we were sitting here on this podcast talking about like, okay, so who does he play now? Because all three of them are performing well, and it's only 2 spots.
Yeah, because next week, I'm not even next week. Like 3 days later, that was the 3-2 comeback against NCSC where we scored 2 in like the 90th minute,
including Dakota.
Yeah, yeah, and ever since then, man, it's been totally different. It's been totally different.
Yeah. I mean, 7 wins, 4 draws, only 1 loss. Since that game out west.
Yeah, and really, we're 3 minutes away from being unbeaten truly. If you take away the Greenville 1-0 loss there.
I don't think we want to go down that road of only a couple minutes away from different records.
I know. I don't either. So we'll avoid that. But guys, any last things before we wrap up the show or anything like that?
I mean, it was just an overall solid team performance. Yes, I always find a little bit, kind of hokey when, it's like, oh, the team was the man of the match. I think it was merited.
Yeah.
This time around because, it really was kind of a grinder of an effort. It probably was not a fun game for those guys to be out there playing in the second half, or it was almost all defense the entire time. But it's a job done, and well done at that. I do think we need to have a discussion right now, though, about what we were able to see from the team celebration.
We do. Yeah. I didn't see the Wayne Gordon live feed, but I was going through some of the Instagram photos, and I would say the guys seemed very enthusiastic throughout the night. I would say that. The foam roller was a cool addition to the trophy and whatnot. I couldn't figure out what song they were singing either.
Yeah, I couldn't quite piece it all together a lot of the time. They were living it up in there. One of our players getting very close to being internet famous. In the locker room.
Oh,
definitely even realized at the moment of, oh no, I'm going to be naked on Instagram. So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, all the guys were getting into it. Obviously all the basic, like, your Queen played. They were getting into all of that. It was fun to see them let loose, have a good time. You could hear somebody say, "Oh, we got to call Emmy, right now, get him onto the phone, on the FaceTime, for everything." Hopefully some of those celebratory photos make their way to see the light of day, especially like your classic locker room posed number 1 photos, things like that. But they're living, and that's what you want to see. You want to see the guys appreciate it, having fun, but also they still have the goal in mind, right? 1 down, 1 to go. Still got more to work on.
Right. Absolutely, more to work on. Shanair, any last things for you, my man, before we wrap up?
Well, are we gonna do a rundown of who won the River City '93 Player of the Season with the points?
Season ain't even over.
Yeah, it's not over yet.
I mean, I thought we were gonna just do the regular season, so we're gonna do playoffs too. All right, but I mean, we still
season ain't over yet.
Great, we still got one more regular game left.
True. But yeah, I'm jumping the gun right now. I'm like, I'm in playoff mode already. I need to back it up.
Look, again, I get it. It's your first championship. You're firing early. It happens. You'll get used to it as we win more.
Oh man, there's so many great jokes there. I mean, look, I think it's great, man. It's great to see this team get it back to the ways of how this club used to be. Have another title that hope we can get the job done and we can celebrate on November 6th, which will also be a complete 3 years since Darren Sawatsky signed his contract. So we will have truly a full circle moment when not there. Yeah.
Get out of City Stadium on Saturday. Again, coronation night. Who doesn't want to be able to see that, get a little taste in before the playoff. Buy your playoff tickets. They should be available soon, if not already.
Make sure you buy those. I think the league just went out, I think last night. I think they just started doing information like that. So get on top of your playoff ticket. Let's sell out City Stadium and Section O. Make it packed. Make it full blown and everything for everyone. So
yeah,
we can celebrate these boys in style. Every game is at home. There's no excuses. Every game is at home.
If you're listening to this and you're not getting your tickets, what are you doing? What are you doing? Book your flight. Plan a vacation. If you're out of town, come back to Richmond for that playoff week. Book into with 2 games, and you can head back home that following weekend with maybe a little hungover or whatever. Will be worth it.
Yeah, it'll be totally worth it. And it would be also totally worth it celebrating the boys at home in front of Section O. That would be worth it. So for Matt,
we need to fill up the stadium.
Right, fill up the stadium. I'm Yogi. We want to say thank you guys again for taking the time of your day for watching our show. We couldn't do the show without you. We're doing this live. This is our first ever live show, really during the week. So if you're watching us live, take a moment. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe with a friend. And we will holler at you guys next week where we'll talk about the playoffs and having a week off to rest and be ready. Holler at you guys next week. Be easy.